Have you ever noticed how many people on social media and podcasts confidently give relationship and marriage advice without ever having been married or successfully navigating a long-term relationship? It's an interesting phenomenon and a dangerous one. The Bible warns us about this kind of leadership in 2 Peter chapter 2, verse 19, describing false teachers who promise freedom while being slaves to their own depravity. They promise them freedom while they themselves are slaves of depravity, for people are slaves to whatever has mastered them. This warning isn't just spiritual, it's deeply psychological. In therapeutic terms, this slavery often stems from a compulsion, a strong, almost irresistible drive to act out certain behaviors repeatedly, even when it's harmful or unwise. Compulsions left unchecked turn into addictions, enslaving people to their desires. Now consider how this applies to uninformed relationship advice givers. Many of these voices are driven by compulsions for attention, validation, or control. Their advice may sound confident, but it's often rooted in their own unresolved wounds and unmet needs rather than wisdom or experience. They've become enslaved to their own narratives, and as a result, they lead others astray. The dangers of following the unqualified. Empty promises of freedom. They often claim to offer freedom from traditional roles, from emotional pain, or from the hard work that real love requires. But are they free themselves? Or are they trapped in cycles of bitterness, unhealed trauma, or superficial connections? Compulsion masquerading as wisdom. A compulsion for relevance or an addiction to social media engagement can drive people to speak on things they don't understand. What sounds like wisdom might just be their compulsion to be heard, applauded, or validated. The blind leading the blind. Without the foundation of lived successful relationship experience, accountability, or humility, these voices often lead their listeners into confusion, bitterness, or unrealistic expectations about relationships. How to discern real wisdom. Check the fruit. As Jesus taught, by their fruit you will recognize them. Look at the lives of those giving advice. Do they embody the kind of relationship you desire? Or do they live in perpetual disarray, unable to apply their own teachings? Seek experienced voices. Wisdom in relationships doesn't come from book knowledge alone. It comes from lived experience. Prioritize advice from people who have walked the path you're trying to navigate. Beware of compulsion. Pay attention to whether someone's advice stems from emotional regulation and humility, or from reactive patterns and unhealed wounds. True wisdom comes from a place of freedom, not compulsion. As a society, we need to be more discerning about who we allow to influence our hearts and minds. Relationship advice, especially about marriage, should come from those who are free from compulsion, free from addiction to attention, validation, and applause, and grounded in both truth and lived experience. Remember, just because someone has a platform, it doesn't mean they have wisdom. Choose your teachers wisely.